The clock is ticking. In 3 days, all foreign troops will leave Afghanistan, as per the deadline set by the US to withdraw from Afghanistan after 20 years of war. But the world is dreading the thought at what happens after the 31st of August. The Pentagon has claimed that the US evacuation process will conclude as scheduled, but experts say that attacks like the one at the Kabul airport could be repeated. This makes the withdrawal dicey. So experts say there could be two situations. First, where the US fails to meet the deadline. Most of the NATO countries have ended their evacuations in Afghanistan, but the US remains. The Taliban lead negotiator Nasser Kani has said that he struck a deal with the US to do nothing until the deadline passes. So if Joe Biden is not able to bring all its troops and nationals back home, the Taliban might do what it has already made clear. For now, the US military coordinates all air traffic in and out of the Kabul airport, but this will most likely change after the deadline ends. All countries will have to engage with the Taliban regarding the evacuation process. The Taliban has promised consequences if foreign troops stayed beyond what it calls the red line.
We are sending a message to the Americans again to evacuate their citizens by this date because they have the means to do so. They have planes and the airport is with them, and they have to transfer all the forces and contractors who have relations with the foreigners. We are not in favor of allowing Afghans to leave, and we won't allow them. And after August 31st, we will not allow the Americans to be here, and we will take a serious position, God willing.
It is not yet clear what the Taliban means by consequences, but it is being said that everything will come down to Kabul's Hamid Karzai International Airport. The Taliban claims that it wants the evacuation flights to depart before the deadline so that civilian flights can resume again. But some airlines might not be willing to fly into an airport controlled by the Taliban. Which brings us to a latest development. Turkey is in talks with the Taliban over the Kabul airport. After the complete withdrawal of NATO troops, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has proposed to jointly administer the airport. While the Taliban controls the security, Ankara wishes to run the technical operations. There has not been any confirmation on this from the Taliban yet. Coming to the second scenario that could play out after the 31st of August deadline, if all foreign troops leave Afghanistan, then the Taliban will be left to govern the 38 million population. International communities have been dreading this.
I think a friendly Kabul administration is needed to have good relationship with its neighbors and the world. I think if Taliban could compromise and could fix some of their policies, there could be a good chapter of peace for Afghanistan. Otherwise, the prolonged war, the history is going to repeat itself.
Since taking over Kabul, the Taliban has made a lot of promises to keep the Afghanistan soil terrorism-free, respect human rights and safety of people, let the women work and grant equal rights to all minority groups, and lastly, to seek no revenge against any Afghans who previously worked with anti-Taliban groups.
Ever since the pardon has been issued, we must forget everything. The Islamic Emirate has forgotten all the pains it has endured in the world. We will never want to take revenge on anyone. We will never want to even look down on anyone.
These promises are very progressive for a group that believes in a harsh interpretation of the Sharia law. It is vowing to respect women despite a history of oppressing them. So, as the other world powers, we are waiting to see the Taliban's rule in Afghanistan. Whether the Taliban chooses to stand by its promises or not is yet to be seen. Experts also fear that with the Taliban in power and no international presence, the atrocities against civilians might not see the light of day. Now joining us for more live from Kabul is our correspondent Anas Malik. Thanks for being with us on the broadcast. Now, as the evacuations from Kabul are taking place, the airport is entering its last phase. What is the situation in Kabul right now, Anas?
I have lost the anchor. I can't hear you guys.
Right now, our correspondent, Anas Malik, is joining us live from Kabul for more on this. Good evening to you, Anas. Now, with the situation at Kabul airport right now, it's entering its last phase. What is the situation in Kabul on the ground right now?
Well, thank you so much, Alison. The first question to the answer to your first question is that the situation at the Kabul airport is still pretty grim. Thousands of desperate Afghans are there outside different gates of the Kabul airport. At least 3 of them that I can name: the North Gate, the Abbey Gate, and the new Ministry of Interior Gate. These 3 gates, where there are thousands of Afghans, not as greater as in number as they were previously, but they're waiting there in desperation. But with regards to the evacuation operation, I can confirm, after having spoken to officials, Western officials, that no evacuation flights that are per se solely of Afghan nationals is to take place now. Those who are being evacuated are those who hold dual nationality or are foreign nationals or have permanent foreign residency. This is the line that have been drawn. So that means those deserving SIV applicants, special immigration visa applicants, who have worked with the United States, with the Allied forces, and other foreign forces in any capacity, be that be as an interpreter, be that be as a translator, be that be as a contractor or sublease, something around that, they would now not be allowed, or they will not be able to make it abroad to the flight to freedom. This is what I can confirm. The second part of your question, today we saw life at, and again, as I said, it's an uneasy calm in the city of Kabul. The Kabulites are trying to cope up with it. Today is the 14th day of the Taliban takeover. Tomorrow would be marking 15 days since this country is presidentless or is without a functional head of state. So by and large, people are now grabbing around the fact that this is the new normal. This is how they have to live with it. This is how they have to cope up with it. Shops are opening up. People are on the roads. There is increased security measure because of an imminent threat alert from the Islamic State of Khorasan province, ISK, that they can possibly attack. So there are increased security measures, but life is trying to get back to normalcy. The Taliban have appointed, just a while back, they've done 2 key appointments. They've appointed an acting director for Sports Federation. Mr. Bashir Ahmad Rostamzai has been appointed as the acting director for Sports Federation, whereas Maulvi Abdul Baqi Haqqani, who was part of the shadow team that was overlooking higher education, he has been appointed as the acting minister for higher education. Alison?
Anas, thank you for bringing us all the latest updates from Kabul.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.